Give me fuel, give me fire, give me double shot and time.
We are live at the World Center of Racing, but it looks a little bit different as we are down the Daytona Super Stretch for race number 7 of the season here at Daytona for the Fuel Grand National Series, the Sunshine 811 Daytona Battle at the Beach. Pleasant good evening to everyone tuning in to tonight's coverage. The Fuel Racing League's Fuel Grand National Series here tonight, the World Center of Racing, live from the Daytona International Speedway, here on the North American Sim Racing Network, your home for the Fuel Grand National Series. Trey Wright and Caleb Rose on the call as always. And Caleb, to say that tonight is going to be a very anticipated race for us in the broadcast booth, and for everybody else is going to be, for everybody else, they're dreading tonight. I think that would be a massive understatement. This is going to be a race of all time. I think you and I can absolutely agree on that.
Absolutely. This is definitely going to be quite the race I think we're in for tonight. The Daytona Backstretch Short Track is definitely quite the treat, both here in NR and IRL as well. Always has usually produced some very, very exciting racing, to say the least, and going to be intriguing to see what we do see here tonight, but definitely going to be very, very fun, and especially at a kind of a makeshift short track like this. Parity definitely going to run wild probably here tonight, so definitely going to be interesting to see what kind of paces we see battling for the race win. But at a track like this, anybody could potentially make their way up to the front. That's definitely what could potentially make this even more exciting. We'll just have to wait and see how it goes down, but it's going to be a fun one regardless here from Daytona.
Yeah, there's going to be a ton of... This is the wild card of all wild card tracks, which is ironic because we're on the back straightaway of a super speedway, which has historically been the wild card of wild card tracks. But again, you look at this track, you've got, it's 4/10 of a mile, just under 4/10 of a mile. And it's basically a flat little, it's gonna kind of a mini New Hampshire and kind of a flat Martinsville with a ton of runoff area. You still got the 3 degrees of banking on the back straightaway from the Daytona Super Stretch. But on this front straightaway, down on what is typically just, the runoff area from the super speedway, there's no banking. It is completely flat. There is zero corner banking. It is, short track racing at its purest, and we are going to see that here a lot tonight. We got 16 cars out on track with Trek Togger just now making his way into the server. But RJ Bishop currently sits top of the charts in that Kroger number 48 machine. First time running that livery this season, in that Cinnamon Toast Crunch Kroger number 48 car. He's currently top of the charts with Apollo Hyde, Vincenzo Focusato. Right behind him, Kenny Campos, who missed last week. He's going to get run over there by Connor Edwards, so all is normal. Grant Warren getting a little bit loose, and especially going back onto the straightaways is going to be a big point of contention here, Kayla. We're going to see a ton of wheel hopping. I think if we don't see any wheel hopping tonight, I think Sienna might have a chance to beat Duke in a couple of days here in March Madness. That's just how much probably wheel hopping and how much likelihood we're going to see some wheel hopping tonight.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely going to be a factor to watch out for. Need to plant your cars well in these corners, or else really get a bad exit, which would really mess up your straightaways. Kind of like what we're seeing with the O2 Connor Edwards going around there off of turn number 2. But I'm definitely going to see a lot of wheel hopping tonight. These tires probably going to be screaming out for help, because you really got to get that wheel turned at a flat short track just like this. And like you kind of mentioned, that's just the crazy part about the Daytona Backstretch Short Track. Just about as makeshift it can get. These corners are completely flat. Only banking you get on this track is that little bit of banking you get once you do head to the Daytona Oval back straightaway. Yeah, like I said, that just makes this track all the more interesting and all the more fun. And it's going to be interesting to see how all those factors do play out here in tonight's race.
It's certainly going to be fun. It's going to be fun for us. It's just going to be 90 laps of pure pandemonium for all of these drivers, as we get a good look at Vincenzo Focusato, who currently sits second in the point standings, as we're at the exact middle point through the season here tonight with race number 6 of the 11 race slate. We're going to take a look at the point standings for the opening time. Apollo High with a 94-point lead over Vincenzo Focusato coming into this evening. Ike Durbin, who is currently not in the server in the 86, runs in third in the standings. Emmy Schizzato and Tyler Stallhood currently round out your top 5. RJ Bishop, Trek Togger, Taylor Stolworthy, Crystal Bennett, and Dunn Laprade round out the top 8. Laprade getting his second win of the season, but has not raced in every single race, so that's why that 74 car is all the way down in 10th, and it doesn't look like he's going to be in the server tonight unless he comes in here in these next couple of moments. Same thing for Drew Fass in the 4, and Grant Warren, the highest running rookie, if I'm not mistaken, although, again, we've only got 16 cars in the server, and a lot of these guys inside the top 12 in points, like Durbin, like Crystal Bennett, I don't see her, like Dunn, and like Drew, they are not going to be here, as Tyler Stallhood is going to go into the parked cars. I think there is no better way to bring us into
Drivers,
qualifying
to your
here. And we'll see who the fastest shall be here tonight at the Daytona International Speedway. But it is going to be a fun race. I think we can all agree on that as we take a look at the race analysis for this evening. 90 laps, which at this just under 3/4 of a mile, that is an error on our race analysis. It is not 1.37, it is 0.37 miles. It's a flat oval, 3 degrees of banking on just the straightaways, nothing in the corners. And I don't think that fuel is going to be an issue for these guys here tonight, Caleb. Because, again, we're only running 33 miles, we're running 90 laps, and we're running 2X. I think, you know, you throw green flag pit stops in here at a track like this, at a makeshift track, where, you know, you go back to the real-life races when the ARCA Series and the Whelen Modifieds ran here back in 2013, 2014. You know, they didn't run pit stops. I don't think that we're going to see green flag pit stops here tonight, but if we do, that's just going to be one more extra thing of just absolute weirdness that we're going to see here tonight. It's going to be fun, irregardlessly.
Definitely. I don't know if green flag pit stops will play a factor. It would definitely be a huge wrench into things if they did, but I definitely think this should just be a pretty straight shot to the checkered flag, barring any caution flags, which, judging by a track such as this, we definitely could see here tonight. But it's going to be interesting to see how this race does end up playing out, and qualifying is definitely looking quite interesting as well, as RJ Bishop looks like he's going to take pole here for the Daytona backstretch.
Yeah, it looks like RJ is going to jump to the top of the charts at 29.429. But real quick before we get underway, big shout out to Corbin Wentz for sponsoring tonight's race for the Sunshine 811 Daytona Battle at the Beach. So want to give him a big shout out. He's got a special livery as well tonight. We'll get into him during happy hour here in just a couple moments' time. But right now, as Bishop will jump to the top of the charts, we had a couple of stragglers come in late. One of them was the 05 of Hez Clark. I know he was trying to get in the server. He's a new driver, I believe, he's definitely making his season debut. I'm not sure if he's making his Fueled Grand National debut. We'll double check that as the race progresses. But irregardlessly, we'll take a peek look at the remaining of the rest of the schedule. After tonight will be the final 5 races of season number 8. Start next week at the Fuel Motorsports Park, our first of 2 dirt tracks in these final 5 races at the Fuel Motorsports Park. That's going to be fun. Basically a reskinned dirt version of New Hampshire. So we're on the theme of New Hampshire, and then we go to the Rockingham Speedway, my personal favorite track on this slate. That's going to be a ton of fun at the Rock. Then we go to the Land of Legends Raceway on April 8th. I want to point out Rockingham is on April 1st, so an April Fool's Day Rockingham Clash is going to be so much fun. And then we go to the Kansas Speedway. That's going to be a tape-delayed broadcast. And then we go across the pond once again to the Autodrome de Paris for the 11th and final race of season number 8 of the Fuel Grand National Series slate. But we've got 5 minutes here of happy hour. And before we put up our ticker once again and see, we'll go ahead and see who's on pole, and it is going to be RJ Bishop of 14 cars that did put down a time of the 17 that are going to be starting this race. Tate Dorsey, Corbin Wentz, and Hez Clark. The only 3 cars to not put down a time here tonight in terms of qualifying. And as we try to find our ticker, there it is. And there is said ticker. Caleb, I think to say that there's going to be a lot of chaos tonight would be a pretty massive understatement. We're going to be expecting any sort of racing that you can think of. It is going to be classic short track racing, which on NR, where the bump and run is kind of the bump and launch the other driver into the other dimension, it's going to be fun. And what are your initial expectations going into tonight, and who's your pick to win the Sunshine 811 Battle at the Beach?
Yeah, like we've kind of talked about just about all pre-race long, I definitely think we're in for quite the fun and quite the chaotic race, just to say the least. But yeah, like we're kind of talking about, short track racing definitely a little bit difficult to kind of replicate here in our online with the physics. Definitely gets a little bit buggy online when cars make contact, and like you mentioned, especially going for a bump and run, it might end up turning into, like you said, launching the car in front of you into a whole separate dimension. So I don't know. We'll have to see how all that does factor out in tonight's race. I definitely still would expect quite a lot of beating and banging, just to the extreme degree. But as for picks to win, like I said, definitely could be a bit of a wild card race here tonight with how chaotic I think it might be. But definitely tell you who was looking good qualifying is that 48 of RJ Bishop. Set down a really good time, had the fastest time in practice as well. I think he's definitely locked in here tonight in a beautiful looking 48 car. Gotta love some good old Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and I think maybe he'll pilot that Cinnamon Toast machine to the win here tonight.
We'll see what he's going to be able to do. I'm going to go with Old Reliable. I'm going to go with that outside pole sitter of Apollo Hyde in that Pepsi number 100 machine. But another driver you can't count out is going to be Nicky Conti, starting in 6th in that Gab Stats number 85 car. Personally, one of my favorite liveries all time in the Fuel Grand National Series. I ran this a couple of different times back in season number 7. I'm going to be watching out to see what Nikki is able to do here tonight. She's really good at this type of racing. She's really good at this discipline. She qualified well. I'm going to be watching out for her. I'm going to be watching out for Taylor Stolworthy as well, starting a little bit back. And the same thing for Blake Warren. You know, we were joking a little bit in the pre-race show during practice how funny would it be that Blake, who can never win here at Daytona on the big super speedway, he would be able to get a win here on the oval. That would be on the backstretch bull ring. That would certainly be the definition of irony, but it would be very, very funny. And we hope that Blake Warren, everything that he's going through health-wise, he's going to have a good race tonight. We hope that we wish that he has the best of luck with all of his health endeavors right now. But irregardlessly, happy hour wrapping up here in just a moment. Before we get things underway, we'd like to thank everybody once again for tuning in to tonight's broadcast of the Fuel Grand National Series, race number 6 on the card. Trek Togger will go into that inside wall. And another thing that we failed to mention, and we'll mention it right before we go live, Caleb, these tire barriers, they are real and they are solid. I've raced this track a couple of different times in online. I've had one online race here in the past. You go back to last year's preseason clash where Keegan Thompson won in the Mission Barbecue Cup Series. Yeah, those are some solid tires, and they will destroy your car. So we're absolutely going to be seeing a lot of that tonight. And the big thing for a lot of these guys is how close you can run on the inside. It's kind of like the curbing at Martinsville, but if you touch it, it's not just going to destroy your splitter, it's going to destroy your whole damn car, and you're going to end up dying. Hopefully we don't see that tonight. Of course, tonight is a video game, but it is one of the many, many, many wrinkles that tonight is going to be throwing at all these drivers, Caleb.
Yeah, definitely. The tires around this racetrack are definitely going to be something to watch out for. Like you mentioned, they can be quite deadly. They pretty much make up the inside wall on the front and back straightaway, and of course, the inside walls there throughout the corners. And I guess just with how this track is laid out, the optimal line here through these corners is to run as close as you possibly can to those tires to arc the corner well. And If you get just an inch too close, then those cars are
Drivers,
just going to
to your
completely,
cars.
I guess, like I like to say, just completely rips the rear axles, it seems like, off your car. But it'll be interesting to see how these drivers do cope here tonight with all these tires around this racetrack. But I'm sure it definitely will probably take some victims here tonight.
Well, it absolutely will, as we're ready to turn them on, grid them up, and send them down trackside here for 90 laps around the Daytona Bull Ring. We send things downstairs, trackside, for the most famous words in motorsports, to fire the engines for race number 6 of this season. Here tonight, the Sunshine 811 Battle at the Beach here at Daytona.
Drivers, start your engines!
And we are ready to rock and roll, and so is everybody else. R.J. Bishop starts from the pole position in that number 48 machine. Apollo Hyde on the outside pole. Row number 2, Tyler Stolhood and Vincenzo Focusato. Nemi Schizzato, well as Nicky Conti in that third starting spot. And Caleb, it is absolutely the calm before the storm here tonight. We're going to watch these guys do battle, literally battle, for 90 laps here in the World Center of Racing, Bull Ring Edition. They are down the back straightaway, 16 cars rolling off of the grid as R.J. Bishop will lead this field to the green flag. And here we go. Bishop right there at the end. Green flag is out and away. We're live for the World Center of Racing. Ooh, Tyler Stolhood a little bit loose off for the opening corner, but he is able to just barely hold on in that number 7, and he's going to fall a little bit back. Crystal Bennett, speaking of the devil, we were talking about it a little bit there in that 84 car. She is up into that 5th spot, and R.J. Bishop lead lap number 1 of the evening. He's a little bit into the outside wall off of turn number 2, and here comes Apollo Hyde, and the caution flag coming out. So on lap number 2, we get caution number 1 as Connor Edwards and Rich Roy have gone around. Well, that didn't take long, Caleb.
No, it did not. And it's definitely far from the last time that we will be done here with these things here tonight.
R.J. Bishop will lead them back to the caution flag, and we're going to see if this is going to indeed be a quickie yellow for some of these guys. Nobody's going to come down the pit lane. And we'll see if it will indeed be a quickie yellow. I don't imagine that it will. As Connor Edwards, he has been teleported back to the pit lane, and well, Rich Roy is going to come down, so it looks like we should be good for a handful of replays here to see what happened to put us under the first caution flag. And again, when they are stacked up like this on the start, it's going to be tough for a lot of these drivers, especially these inexperienced guys, starting from the back end of the field. As see what happened. Brakes may have just gone from Connor Edwards as he just plowed right into the back of Rich Roy, got stuck in the tire barrier, and just nowhere for him to go. And just Rich, an unfortunate bystander involved in that accident. We'll get one more look at it here. We said there's going to be a lot of wheel hopping, and brakes are going to be a commodity for all of these drivers. And well, we saw the brakes a little bit cold at the start for Connor Edwards, and it looks like he's going to go 2 laps down. Tough start to the race for Connor. And it looks like we might be going back green here this next time around, and Edwards is going to go 2 laps down. Kenny Campos also coming down the pit lane. So looks like he is going to make a pit stop here, put on some for Mr. Feelgoods, and it looks like we are going to be going green flag racing this next time by. This field was doubled up, but again, this is a short track, so we get an additional caution lap. I think it's a bad omen to have a caution on the first lap of 90, Caleb, or what are we going to be doing here tonight?
definitely seems like it could be a bad omen for the rest of the night, especially like you kind of mentioned with all these guys bunched up. It definitely could potentially bring more chaos, but I have to see how everyone fares here on this restart. With everybody bunched back up, though, might see some more chaos strike once again.
Well, here we go. Wash, rinse, repeat. Green flag back end in the air. Bishop, Focusato, Hyde, Bennett, Skisato, your top 5. And that inside lane is going to be the dominant line we're going to see all night long. Case in point, washing a little bit off the corner wide was Focusato. And he will draw back into that 3rd position with Hyde taking that 2nd spot away. A little bit wide there for Trek Togger. That's going to be a spot for the 7 car as Rich Roy around once again. And he is stationary. He has left the server by the looks of it. So tough start to the race for Rich Roy. It looks like he will end up finishing in 17th in that number 29 machine. Hez Clark falling way off the pace in that 05 car, making his debut. And now Paulo Hyde looked to be going for the race lead underneath that 48 machine, but too far out front there for RJ. And he is going to hold on a little bit wide off the corner. We'll smack the safer barrier. He's going to hold on to that lead, and I think Rich, he may have actually just fallen out of the server. Yep. Roy is quickly back in the server. Yeah, that's going to be a very, very long night here for Rich. He's already going to be a couple of laps down, and that's a really tough break there for Rich, Caleb.
Yeah, definitely not the start that 29 car wanted, and actually it looks like he might have bowed out of the server once again. So maybe having internet issues or something in that 29 cam. So a really tough night there so far for Rich Roy, and like I said, not the way you want to start this race.
It was a gearbox failure for Rich is what ultimately took him out. That is, at a track like this where you're going to be shifting from between 1st and 2nd a ton here, that is not an issue that you want to have. And yeah, I can 100% see Rich saying, all right, you know what? We destroyed the gearbox in the opening couple of laps. I don't want to deal with this for 90 laps, and quickly calling it a night. So that is a tough break for Rich. And also, I believe we might have another car. I'm trying to see where Hez Clark is out on track. I don't see the 05. He may have also pulled it out of the server. It's Tyler Stallhood around in turn number 4. We remain green. Stallhood was running in 8th, and he's going to fall back to 11th. So tough break for him here in that automobile. And we've got a couple of match races for the race lead here, as we got a battle for first right now between Bishop and Hyde. Hyde is just remaining right behind that 48. Again, at a track with 0 banking, passing is less of an art form, and more as, hey, you know what? I'm just going to ride on your bumper, and hopefully, you know, if I bump you, you'll just get out of the way. That's best case scenario. Worst case scenario, you just launch them all the way on the other side of the track. But Bishop has led all 15 laps so far. Will come around to lead his 16th. I am a little bit concerned of him bumping into the outside wall. I get that it's giving him a lot of momentum off corner exit, but you know, time over time that might generate a little bit of a tire rub, Caleb. So that's going to be something we're going to have to worry about. But he's picking them off one at a time, trying to get Warren Wentz Racing their first win as an organization, and all. A couple Warren Wentz Racing guys doing pretty good, as Crystal Bennett has gone around in turn number 4 as well. Looks like she may have got a little bit of help from Blake Warren. Those guys were battling for the 5th spot.
Stallhood clips the tires.
And Stallhood into the tire barrier that was right in front of the leaders. Ooh, do not pull a, oh boy, that's right in front of the 12. Do not pull a Ben Snyder. Do not pull a Oh, who was the guy that pulled across at Dover that killed Kevin Swindell? Was that Stephen Light at Dover? What was that, 10, 15 years ago?
I don't remember who that was.
Well, I might have to Google it here shortly, but we are running off laps like there's no tomorrow. Apollo Hyde, fastest car currently on track, but now with, again, how short
Alex
this facility is as Tate Dorsey's going to get punted. Tyler Stolworthy also into the wall, and that will finally put us under the caution flag for the second time tonight after a solid 15-lap run. Bunch everybody back up, and well, it was only a matter of time before we finally got a caution for an incident here, Caleb.
Yeah, definitely had a solid green flag run going there. They actually made their way to lap traffic, which we saw RJ Bishop actually doing a pretty good job there at managing in that 48. But I definitely saw a couple self-spins there during that run, so it's probably just a matter of time before we did end up getting a caution flag. So a tough break for everybody involved, but here under caution, it looks like we're going to have some pit stops here.
We are going to have our opening set of pit stops of the evening, as Bishop and Hyde are going to come down the pit lane for the opening time. And, you know, again, we don't expect any green flag pit stops for these drivers, but you know, you might as well put some for Mr. Feelgoods on during these caution flags, and that is what we're seeing with both of these leaders. It looks like Vincenzo Focasato may have slid his tires on the pit lane, so that's going to cost him a little bit of time. That might cost him third, with Schizzato a little bit faster off for the gun, but RJ Bishop will win the race off of the pit lane, and Taylor Stolworthy, who's actually a lap down, will beat everybody else, but Emmy Schizzato, she's going to be up in that third spot, so how about that for Emmy? And as everybody else will cycle back around, we'll quickly take a look at what happened here. As RJ nearly getting into
Playing
a
chicken
wall.
with the tire barriers.
Tire check, get your tires here. And we did have a handful of cars that did, in fact, stay out. Real quick, we'll take a look at what happened here. Before we'll get things right back away, and same thing we saw in the opening caution, Stolworthy getting into the 6, and yeah, Tate just spin that car around, no harm, no foul, but it was technically a multi, so that's why it puts us under the yellow flag. We'll get one final look here following along with Tate, and you know, just went around, and that was relatively in front of the leaders as well. It was also a little bit in the racing groove, so I get why the caution flag was called. Again, it was mostly because it was a multi, but regardlessly, it's going to calm things down just a little bit. And Blake Warren, as well as Grant Warren, how about that? Those two are going to be sitting 1-2 when we get back out here. And RJ Bishop, he is a little bit towards the back. Was he dogged for a speeding penalty, Caleb?
I think he was. Looking in the chat, it looks like he did take an EOLL. Oh, yeah, might have sped on the pit lane there for the 48. That is a big gut punch, considering how dominant he's been so far in the early stages of this race.
And that just harkens back to last week, where a similar mistake on pit lane, it wasn't a speeding penalty, but it was just a mistake on pit lane, took him out of contention late in last week's Las Vegas 100. And based on how much of commodity passing has been here tonight and how great track position has been, it's going to be a tough row for RJ to get back out of, but still plenty of time to go in this race. 64 laps to go when they go back through the restart zone. It's the Warren brothers on the front straightaway, and how about Nicky Conti up into that third spot? Apollo Hyde, first car on those fresh tires, immediately shoves that 100 machine down to the inside. Trying to get the 2-for-1 Wednesday night special as Connor Edwards into the outside wall. Warren with the run off the corner, and Hyde trying to utilize those fresh tires. Trek Togger partially sideways off of turn 4. And Hyde looked to be giving the bumper to the 12, shoots him a little bit up the racetrack.
Whoa.
Not quite able to get the pass down, looking for the crossover, going a long way around that 12 machine. Hyde looking for a little bit of a
There
ledge,
it
and here
is.
she comes
There it
down to the
is.
inside. Drag race down the back straightaway, down the front straightaway, if you will. A little
Locking
wheel
up
hop
battle,
there
Warren.
for Warren. Is he able to hold on to it,
Apollo's
trying
got
to
it.
fishtail his way through the corner, and Apollo Hyde will be out front for the opening time tonight in that Pepsi number 100. Vincenzo Focasato now leading the charge for third, and RJ Bishop has already made his way back up inside the top 5. A little contact there is Nicky Conti dropping back in the 85 machine. As Connor Edwards, he's got quite a bit of rear end damage, I believe. Yeah, he has been in the tire barriers a handful of times, and it has not been a great night for that Bauer number 02 machine. And now Blake Warren around on the front straightaway. He's into the tire barriers. He was running in second, and that is a hellacious amount of damage on that discount tire number 12. And bad things continue to get worse for the Warren Wentz Racing Camp. A speeding penalty.
Worse as Grant Warren gets turned.
And Grant Warren gets turned. Taylor Stolworthy, the 85, and the caution flag is once again out. And right as we were saying, things continue to get worse for the Warren Wentz Racing Camp. The other Warren brother goes around. Fortunately, he's able to stay on the lead lap. And now issues for all but one Warren Wentz Racing related car here tonight. As Blake Warren with an issue, Grant Warren with an issue, Connor Edwards has been around, same thing. And RJ Bishop has had his speeding penalty, but goodness gracious. You couldn't ask for a more chaotic last couple of laps, Caleb.
Yeah, definitely. That was a bit of a rough run there for the Warren drivers there. Of course, you had RJ Bishop there getting bopped with an EOLL before the restart, and Blake Warren did his best there to hold on to the lead, but just got crossed up there by the 100 of Apollo Hyde on those older tires, and then eventually I just gave out from underneath them, spun the car around, nosed into the tire barrier, and absolutely destroyed the front end of that 12 machine. And yeah, Grant Warren shortly after they're going around off the bumper, I believe, of Nicky Conti in the 85.
Well, taking a look at what happened with the 12, and like you said, he just over-revved the car going through off of 4. The same thing we saw with Bishop that we were worried a little bit about. And then looking here at what happened with the 33. Oh, he got loose. That was right in front of Nikki. Nowhere for her to go. And then he backs into Taylor Stolworthy. Nowhere for Taylor to go. And just, yeah, lap number 33 is, or not lap number 31, I should say, was the lap where everything went down south for the Warren brothers. Certainly not what you want. And it certainly was not what either of those guys wanted there. Good news for them. RJ Bishop is back inside the podium. But, you know, 16 cars still out on track. I don't know. I guess Hez Clark is technically out of the race. Just trying to see. He hasn't retired, but he's peeled off of the track. So, I don't know. He's currently 26 laps down in 16th, 15 cars. Still out on track. Connor Edwards, 3 laps down. Corbin Wentz and Taylor Stolworthy, each a lap down by themselves. But we are already approaching the halfway point in this race, Caleb, here as we approach 9:30 local time in Daytona Beach, Florida. We've got 54 laps to go in this one. Apollo Hyde still with the race lead. Hyde and Focasato. Front row going back through the gears. Green flag back out in the air, and RJ Bishop right behind that 100. Thought he got in the back of that Pepsi Mazda a little bit. But here he comes. He's once again going to be gunning for that race lead. Vinny a little bit wide through the corner. They were thinking about going 3 wide off of 4. Corbin Wentz a little bit out of shape off of 4, but he's able to hold on to that. Focasato absolutely not able to turn that 37 car at all. And how about Tate Dorsey?
Oh,
Nicky Conti around in turn number 2. And the yellow flag will promptly be back out here.
Yep. There it is.
Cautions breed cautions, and the cautions are a little bit horned up here tonight, for lack of a better term. There's something certainly in the water with these cautions here. Although, again, we are nearing the halfway point in this race, but it has certainly been a chaotic race, to say the least, as Hyde will once again lead them back to the caution flag.
The wise words of Smash Mouth. And they don't stop coming, and they don't stop coming.
They certainly have not stopped coming so far here tonight. As Connor Edwards, he goes around off of turn number 4 as well. Looked to be a promising night for Nicky Conti to start things off. And a little bit of a tap there from Corbin Wentz, and that will officially be the pentafecta for all 5 Warren Wentz Racing related cars involved in some sort of incident here tonight, as Corbin is going to get into that 85. Just a racing deal, nothing too major. But we'll get one final look here, following along with the 88. You know what? We'll just go along with the TB2 cam. We'll see what happened. Yeah, just a little bit tight off of the corner. Spins that Gab Tats forward around, and a tough break for Nicky, as those guys were battling in that 12th spot deep in the field. But here we go. Pace car back down the pit lane, and right in time. Hyde and Bishop will be the front row going back through the gears under a quickie yellow. Green flag back out and away. 49 laps to go in tonight's race, only a few laps away from the halfway point. Hyde with the inside, Bishop trying to get the run off of the outside. Blake Warren blinking out here and there, but he's already crawled his way back up inside the top 10, and RJ goes a little bit wide. Here comes Vincenzo Focasato. Not able to quite complete the pass, and Bishop will get a little bit of breathing room. Here comes Blake Warren. He's going to force Stallhood all the way off track, all the way offline he goes, and don't count out Blake Warren out of this one. He's already back up to 6th after getting that discount tire Ford Mustang pretty destroyed in car number 12. And he's going to be hoping for a few more cautions to go his way, Caleb. Or else we could see Blake Warren make a run, try to get back up here, but Apollo Hyde out like a rocket, but RJ Bishop not letting her get out a little too bit far. Again, these guys were able to draw a 3-second lead over Focasato and Schizzato over the last long green flag run that we had. Again, these two, the class of the field so far tonight. I think Apollo's just got a little bit of an edge, you know, setup and grip-wise on this 48. It's going to be fun to watch these guys battle, and Apollo gets into the tires, able to hold on to it. What a save out of that 100 car.
But wide goes the 100. Here
Oh,
goes
she's
Bishop.
wide through the corner. Here comes Bishop. Connor Edwards goes around on the other side of the track. Here comes RJ. Oh, Connor Edwards is right in front of these guys. He's going to wisely keep the hammer down, and oh boy, Apollo Hyde with the save of the night. That car was wrecking loose off of turn 4. She's able to hold on to that, but I think there might be something wrong on that Mazda. She has lost a ton of time, and a very bad start to the second half of the race for Apollo Hyde, and RJ Bishop looking to say she gone goodbye.
That was definitely quite the turn of events there for Apollo Hyde. All but wrecked that thing twice after flipping the tires there and almost over-revving it sideways, kind of like we saw earlier from the 12 of Blake Warren, but managed to keep that 100 car straight, but did lose quite a bit of time and the lead just in general to the 48 of RJ Bishop, who's now trying to set sail right now in that 48. And with how fast this race is going, definitely looking good right now for Bishop. Just needs to keep that car planted on the racetrack. Like we were kind of talking about, Blake Warren definitely looking like a man on a mission right now as he's up into the 5th position after putting that discount tire forward into the discounted tires. See if he can close into Emi Scizzato and Vincenzo Focasato. But yeah, like you mentioned, Apollo Hyde and RJ Bishop have definitely been class in the field here so far. Have to see if Hyde can maybe kind of get the rhythm back and get caught back up to the 48. But Bishop has just looked so good in this race and did a great job at moving his way back through the field after getting bopped there on the pit lane. But here he comes as he's starting to approach lap traffic once again. Did a great job at navigating through it last time on that long run, but we'll see how he does this time around as he closes in here on Corbin Wentz and Kenny Campos.
40 laps to go, make it 39 laps to go here tonight. And RJ Bishop picking them off one at a time, and Hyde falling back about 1.6 seconds that last time by, make it 1.7 now this time around. But Bishop has caught up to lap traffic. And as we continue to knock off laps here one by one, Edwards up on the high lane. He's just going to let the leaders go on by. He has been struggling a lot here tonight. Still just trying to learn this discipline of ultra short track racing. Ooh, Apollo trying to shoot the gap. Trying to get the 2-for-1 Wednesday night special, and not able, she wasn't able to thread the needle, but she's going to get around both the 02 and the 88. But the more time she spends mucking around with lap down drivers, the more time that's going to allow RJ Bishop to try to scoot away here from this pole position. We got one car partially around. That was Grant Warren, who I think did a half spin off of the corner. But now with 36.5 laps to go, we'll go through the field here for the 15 cars that remain out on track. Presented by Fram, but right now RJ Bishop runs in first. Apollo Hyde runs second. Vincenzo Focasato is third. Blake Warren up inside the fourth. One spot away from getting in that podium. And how about Tate Dorsey? Career best finish here in the Grand National Series is third. He got that at Daytona last year. And he is right now running inside the top 5. Tyler Stallhood runs in 6th. Crystal Bennett, nice recovery for her. She's in 7th. Nikki Conti in that 8th position. Grant Warren up in 9th for a good top 10 run there for that 33 so far. Top 10 currently caboosed by Taylor Stolworthy. 11th is Emi Scizzato. Yes, Emi had some sort of issue in the 97. I believe she partially went around off of one of the corners, and now she's in danger of going a lap down. 12th is going to be Trek Togger. 13th, Kenny Campos. 14th, sponsoree of tonight's race, Corbin Wentz. And rounding out the cars out on track, Connor Edwards runs in 15th. He is currently 7 laps down. Hez Clark and Rich Roy, the 2 cars that are out of the race. Hez Clark is 48 laps down. He is not officially retired from the race just yet. Rich Roy has retired. He had a gearbox failure in the opening 10 laps of this race. But time continuing to wind down in that gap, already up to about 0.4 of a second between RJ Bishop and Apollo Hyde. I know what Apollo is absolutely hunting for right now would be a caution flag, because that would mean these guys would probably come back down the pit lane, you know, put on some fresh tires, because we've been green for about the last, what, maybe 35, 40 laps or so, Caleb?
Somewhere around there, I would say, yeah.
So these tires definitely starting to wear out a little bit. Not to the point where we're going to see green flag pit stops in the next 31 laps, but you want as much grip as you can get here. We're starting to see these guys slide a little bit back with some of their runs. We're starting to see that fall off at about half a second right now. Or, yeah, half a second right now is Hyde. Her fastest lap of 21.37. And RJ right now, that last time by running a 21.87, so exactly by half a second. The pace has dropped off a little bit here for these drivers, but and RJ continuing to pound that 100 in terms of the lap time. I had that last time by running a 22.085, ran a 22.046 this last time by. But RJ, he has been running 21.8. So he has been cutting his way through the field pretty nicely, and he's putting a lot of distance between himself and Apollo. And now Hyde has gone around off of turn number 4.
Oh, no!
She was running in second. She's quickly able to grab a gear in that 100 machine, but now The current points leader surrenders a spot to Vincenzo Focasato. Now she might be in danger of falling outside of the podium because Blake Warren is not far behind in that number 12 machine. Of course, Blake kind of fighting a two-front war with Trek Togger right at 6 o'clock, and now Togger's going to back off a little bit. But ever since hitting the tire barriers right at the halfway point of this race, it has just not been a good result for Apollo High. And again, those tire barriers, as we see Taylor Stolworthy hit them off 4, to kind of underline that point, they are a little bit dangerous, and that's a little bit dangerous as RJ was looking to go 3 wide underneath Wentz and Schizzato. Those two still side by side right in front of him, and Tyler Stolhood goes around right in front of the race leader. He's somehow able to loop it before getting run over, and we remain green.
Oh my goodness. Say, if I'm in the driver's seat of that Ford yet, I think my life just flashed before my eyes.
Well, RJ able to get around that one as Schizzato still trying to remain on the lead lap. But you got a feeling the longer we get into this run, the more likely a caution is going to come out, especially with all these guys on top of one another right now. As High just continuing to drop back Vincenzo Focasato, now 7 seconds behind that 48. And RJ just putting on a clinic right now. 44 laps led on the evening this time by, 23 to go. And he's just hoping that we remain clean and green all throughout the rest of this race, Caleb, because he is just putting on a domination show. Trek Togger around in turn 4, and he's just going to leave the server here, I believe. He's going to call it a night. He's running a lap down. And, oh, it was a header failure, so mechanical issue for Trek. It's going to blow his engine, and that will be the 3rd car in the garage area. That's a very tough break.
Definitely tough stuff there for Trek Togger. Just out here trying to log laps, maybe try and see this out to the finish, but yeah, I guess judging by what the leaderboard says, looks like a header might have gone on that 60, so.
Oh, and Crystal Bennett, I think she might have a mechanical issue as well.
That looked like smoke maybe pouring out the back of the 84.
I'm not sure if that was tire smoke or engine smoke.
I think it was engine smoke. That 84 is not under power.
And that would be another heartbreaker as Crystal Bennett, she was running in that 6th spot.
Connor Edwards.
Edwards around, yeah, he was around off of turn 4, and he legitimately might call it a night as well. Although, you know, with Togger and Crystal both having mechanical issues just there, I'm Connor, you know what? My car is good to go here, as it was a clutch for Crystal again. The mechanical failures we're seeing here tonight have not been kind to a lot of these drivers. That's now the 2nd mechanical failure we've seen in as many laps.
But dropping like flies here.
That's just unfortunate for a lot of these drivers. 19 to go, make it 18 laps to go. RJ Bishop continuing to just put them off one car at a time. We'll go on board with RJ Bishop. We'll take you for a couple of laps around the Daytona International Speedway. Right behind Emmy Schizzato as Connor Edwards back out on track, able to try to salvage a couple of points here and there. Still relatively deep down in the championship battle, but hey, you want the experience. If you want to say that you were able to finish top 10, which one might want to finish 13th here, which is kind of on the table, but Bishop still running some really good times. He's dropped it back down to 22.3, so he's about leveled off with Focasato. Focasato running similar lap times to RJ right now, so he's starting to really back it up a little bit here, but overall, RJ Bishop well on his way to potentially getting his first win of the season. We had one other car go around off of turn number 2. Couldn't quite tell who it was as Tyler Stolhood around in turn 4 once again. And he's going to see his gap. Oh, is he able to get it quite back around? in time, and he will. It's been another tough night for Tyler as well. He's gone around a couple of different times in that 7 machine. He's going to fall down. He's going to battle with Kenny Campos here for the 7th spot. It's going to be a good battle for 10th Bruin, right in front of Focus Auto. Funny enough, was trying to put these guys a lap down as they're running just outside the top 10. Connor Edwards way wide off of the corner, just barely able to keep that Bauer machine off the wall. This is a good battle for position here between the 7 and the 71. Wondering if they're just going to let Focus Auto on by. Ooh, Tyler, he is just having a slam on the brakes. And Vin is like, just let me by, sir. And he will finally get by. And that ultimately might be the final nail in the coffin for Focus Auto maybe getting this race win. But again, you know, RJ, he's still caught in heavy lap traffic. Again, point of no return, lap 85, which is going to be 5 laps to go. And after that, all bets are off and anything can happen. But these guys, we've seen a lot of self-spins and maybe 1 or 2 multi-incidents that may have been caution flags. But overall, this has been a much cleaner race than I anticipated, Caleb. I was expecting maybe about 8 or 9 cautions. We have had 4 so far tonight. Nothing too major. You know, this has been a very fun race, all things considered, as we might get this, you know, done in just under an hour. It's been a fun one so far tonight.
Absolutely. This has definitely been a bit different from what I expected, but hey, you can't complain. It's been a very fun race here from Daytona, and yeah, like you said, with honestly the less cautions that we were expecting, it's honestly kind of flown by as we're now approaching the point of no return here in just a couple of laps' time. RJ Bishop, I'll tell you what, he's been locked in ever since he got this race lead. Now with a 10-second gap back to the 37 of Vincenzo Focus Auto. At this point, he could probably run some of the slowest laps on the day and still walk home with the victory. It's been a great performance from that 48, especially after overcoming a penalty under that one caution. Went to the back of the field, managed to make his way back up front, and now leading this race here, coming to 7 laps to go.
And he's right behind Blake Warren, who's in that 4th spot. He's catching up to everybody that's, you know, he's caught up to the back end of the top 5 right now with Nicky Conti and Blake Warren. You know, Schizotto, who's in danger of going. Actually, she's trying to get a top 5 finish here as well. That's what's RJ's been really doing, is he's pushed Schizotto back within striking distance of getting a top 5 finish. But you know, that's just how small of a bull ring is and how long of a green flag run this has been. Schizotto into the wall, and Blake just trying to hold off the 85 right now. Is a pretty good battle to see who's going to get in the top 5. RJ looking for an avenue around these guys, but 5 laps to go. And that will be it. And oh, a little bit of a side swipe there on the 97. And even if we get a multi right here and right now, that will not be a caution. So we're going to see these guys get very, very, very aggressive. And around goes Zemi off the front end of RJ Bishop. He's going to spin that 97 car around, and she is going to lose probably 1 spot there. Not sure if there was a little bit of a bump. We know turn 4 has been Calamity Corner so far this evening.
It might have been a tire clip from that 97. Don't quote me on it, but
she's going to fall down to 7. She's still a lap ahead of Grant Warren.
He's going to teleport back to the pits.
Edwards back to the pit lane once again, currently 12 laps down. Able to get 13th, and Apollo Hyde into the tire barriers once again.
Boy.
She has had a rough night as well. In fact, the only guys that haven't had a rough night have really been the 48 and the 37. A little bit of a wheel hop there for Blake Warren through turn 1. His sticks are high in the air. 2 laps to go from Daytona. Don't call it a comeback just yet, but it's looking pretty solid right now as Tyler Stallhood a little bit wide off for the corner. Right in front of all these guys. White flag out in the air one more time around the Daytona International Speedway.
Oh, it's Stallhood.
Stallhood around right in front of the leader. He's just gonna try to stay out of the way as much as he can.
And no harm, no foul.
But off of turns 3 and 4, from a couple of pit road speeding penalties earlier on tonight to a dominating 67 lap performance win, checkered flag in the air, RJ Bishop, your winner of the Sunshine 811 Battle at the Beach here at Daytona.
What a performance from that 48. We definitely saw he had race-winning pace both in practice and qualifying, but absolutely delivered here in this one. Like I was talking about, overcame that speeding penalty from the back of the field, made their way back up to the front, and managed to get by Apollo Hyde there in that run. And like I said, just absolutely locked in after taking the race lead. An absolutely deserving win there for that 48 of RJ Bishop, and definitely going to be cool to see Bishop go into victory lane here.
Definitely is, and I know he was so disappointed after last weekend where it looked like he was going to be one of those contenders at Las Vegas. He absolutely dominated here tonight. 67 laps led of the 90 laps, winning from the pole. And a pretty good burnout to boot as well, as RJ Bishop going to Gatorade victory lane here tonight, and he's going to burn it down the entire Daytona Super Stretch.
Wear that thing out, baby.
Kroger
You've earned it.
Toast Crunch number 48 machine. It's been a long while since we've seen RJ Bishop go to Gatorade victory lane. And for all the issues that they had tonight, Caleb, Warren Wentz Racing, their first win as an organization in their 6th ever race. And it belongs to RJ Bishop in that machine. And what a storyline and what a moment for that young team.
Nice to see a first-time win for the team as Bishop grenades the motor there in the 48. He just about took all the life out of it right then and there. But yeah, nice to see that team go to victory lane. Hey, they honestly, all cars had a pretty solid recovery after that kind of mid-race crisis that seemed to strike there after that 48 got a speeding penalty. Of course, RJ Bishop able to overcome that adversity, ends up going to victory lane. Blake Warren was able to recover there for a 4th place finish, and even Grant Warren was able to march his way up to an 8th place finish as well. So a triple top 10 there for the team alongside the win. So hey, nice stuff there.
Pretty good result for all of them, as Connor Edwards will round out that brigade, finishing in 13th. But those are your results with RJ Bishop, Vincenzo Focusato, and Apollo Hyde will be the 3 drivers that we will talk about here tonight, with Blake Warren, Nicky Conti rounding out the top 5. Like we said, can't count out either of those drivers, and they will be at the top end of the list. Tate Dorsey finishes in the same spot as his car number in that 6th spot. Emi Schizzato fell down to 7th after running inside the top 5 for the majority of the night. Grant Warren, good top 10 finish for him in the 33. Taylor Stolworthy and Kenny Campos, who are 2 and 3 laps down, will round out the top 10. Tyler Stallhood, Corbin Wentz, and Connor Edwards were the final handful of drivers out on track. Crystal Bennett, Trek Togger, Hez Clark, and Rich Roy failed to finish the race, with Bennett, Togger, and Roy having mechanical issues with their automobiles, and Clark having mechanical issues with his computer by the looks of it. But overall, a really fun race here at the World Center of Racing. And before we get things underway here, we're going to go downstairs for the post-race interviews coming up here in just a couple of moments with RJ Bishop, Vincenzo Focusato, and Apollo Hyde will be the 3 drivers we will talk to here tonight after a fun Sunshine 811 call before you dig here tonight at the Daytona International Speedway. Do not go anywhere, folks. We'll be back here in just a moment.
give me fire, give me double shot it down.
And we are back here on the North American Sim Racing Network's coverage of Fuel Grand National Series, race number 6 of season number 8. We have wrapped up the Sunshine 811 Call Before You Dig, a fantastic race on the back straightaway of the World Center of Racing. Trey Wright and Caleb Rose on the call. Caleb, before we get into our post-race interviews, your opening thoughts on what turned out to be a very, very fun race with a lot of strategy involved. Track position was the way to go. And RJ Bishop ended up being on the top step of the podium here for tonight's 6th race of the season.
I honestly don't really know what to say about this race. It was so much fun. Definitely a lot different, I think, from what we expected going in. Definitely a lot cleaner than we expected. And honestly, I definitely a bit more of a runaway than I expected too. But definitely have to give credit where credit's due. RJ Bishop with a fantastic run in that 48. Absolutely dominated after getting the lead away from Apollo Hyde there. But definitely quite the fun race here from the Daytona backstretch short track. Like I said, definitely a lot different from what I expected. But hey, definitely no harm in that. And overall, a pretty interesting race with definitely a lot of interesting storylines and stuff to go off of here as we head into the latter part of the season.
Well, yeah, we're officially in the back end of the season here tonight with 6 races down, 5 races to go. But we'll go ahead and get things going here for our post-race interviews.
Next week is Fuel Motorsport Park.
Starting with the driver of the number 100 Pepsi machine, Apollo Hyde, with a 3rd place run here tonight. You got a copy of us here in the broadcast booth?
I do.
Well, you certainly had a lot of adversity here this evening as the middle part of the race, that really second quarter of the race seemed to be where things were definitely in your wheelhouse. But ultimately, we saw you hit the tire barrier from the lead, get a little bit loose. And how did that really affect your car from there on out to where you drop back to 3rd?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what ended up happening, to be quite honest with you. My best guess was that when RJ got alongside of me, I ended up wheel hopping getting into turn 1. It was happening to me all night, and it was just bound to happen from the lead. I wheel hopped getting into turn 1. RJ got to the inside of me. We were side by side, and I tried to brake real deep into turn 3 and tried to slow it down about 25, 30 miles an hour in the middle and then just punch it off the corner. And I just lit the hell out of the right rear tire. And I really never recovered from that. I warmed the right rear tire up way too much, went on the right rear tire while it was warm way too much. We wore it way the hell out, and the handling just completely went away on the car. Besides that, the car was definitely fast enough to at least compete for a win in this race. It just wasn't meant to be this time around. We didn't play the tire strategy right.
Yeah, and of course, at a track that is this technical, the tire strategy means absolutely everything. But going into a track like this, it's the back straightaway at Daytona. It is the bull ring of all bull rings. How do you really set up your car for just trying to roll around through the corners with no banking?
It's actually pretty simple. You just put in the stiffest right rear spring that you can find in the shop. Just the highest spring rate spring that you can find in the shop. You just put that on your right rear tire, and you put the weight as far forward as you can to get really good braking into the corner. And you use that right rear spring to rotate the car through the corner. So you're kind of counteracting the weight shift on the car with suspension that's going to make the car really loose. So you get really good braking into the corner, and you're able to usually kick the rear out a little bit and get really good drive off. That's typically the plan on any of these flat tracks. It'll work at here. It's how I drove the car at Hanford, at Chicago Motor Speedway last year. That's how we drove the car. Walt Disney World, I would drive the car like that there. New Hampshire, Martinsville, basically any of those flat tracks that require super heavy braking. It's really nice to get just a really stiff right rear spring And that's just able to get the car rotated through the middle of the corner. And I feel like that's the key to speed on tracks like this.
Well, it definitely was, and you're absolutely, running pretty well tonight. But looking ahead to next week, our first of 2 dirt tracks on the schedule to the Fuel Motorsports Park. It's, we were hearing Tyler describe it earlier on that next week is kind of going to be a little bit of it's New Hampshire that's flattened out and covered in dirt. What are your expectations for the first dirt race of the season?
Well, we've won the last 2 times that we've gone there. So hopefully we can win again at Fuel Motorsport Park. But every single time we go to one of these dirt races, Vincenzo just gets a little bit faster. Usually we're the top 2 dogs when it comes to these dirt races. And yeah, we're definitely looking forward to both Fuel Motorsport and Canandaigua. It should be a really interesting race between us 2. And if someone else ends up figuring out how to do the dirt races, maybe we'll get a 3-dog fight. But typically it's between me and Vincenzo.
Well, it's certainly going to be a blast there at Fuel Motorsports Park next week. And Caleb, you got anything for our 3rd place finisher here tonight?
Absolutely. Definitely a very interesting race like we were talking about here from the Daytona backstretch short track. Definitely a lot different from what we were expecting, but hey, this case definitely a good thing. A lot cleaner and definitely a lot more straightforward than what we were expecting, but hey, definitely got to give you all credit. Y'all drove a great race out there, and despite some adversity, managed to come home there with a podium finish, so great stuff there, surviving all the chaos, and I definitely wish you the best of luck heading into these next couple of races, because it's definitely going to be a very interesting stretch of action here in the Grand National Series. Should definitely be a lot of fun, and can't wait to see how it all goes down, but I wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you very much.
Well, Apollo, you definitely know the drill by now. We'll give you the floor to thank anybody you want here on the NESRN airwaves. If there's any sponsors, anybody you want to shout out, the floor is yours.
Oh, the big thing to shout out is that this weekend, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, it's going to be ZenkaiCon. It's my anniversary performance. That's going to be Friday at 6 o'clock main events. And I'm also going to be presenting my first ever panel at this convention Saturday at 1 o'clock, also in the main convention center. So if you're in the Lancaster area, stop by the Lancaster County Convention Center. It's a blast. I can't recommend this place enough. The staff is brilliant, and we just all have a really good time.
We'll definitely have to check that out. And we're looking it up right now. I believe we'll put a link down in the description box below if anybody wants to check that out. But Apollo, thanks as always for coming on here after the race, and it's going to be a fun one next week at first dirt track of the season. Congratulations on the 3rd place run here tonight.
Thank you.
User was moved out of your channel.
That was Apollo Hyde, driver of the number 100 Pepsi Mazda from Marvelous Racing, finishing 3rd here this evening.
User was
and then
moved
moving
to
up
your
to
channel.
our 2nd place driver, our penultimate finishing driver of the number 37 machine, Mr. Vincenzo Focasato. You got a copy of us here in the broadcast booth?
That I did, Trey. Loud and clear.
Well, it's certainly been a couple of weeks since you've been up inside the broadcast booth. You've been struggling a little bit here and there on some of these tracks, but finally able to get back up into that 2nd spot, 1 spot away from the top spot on the podium. But other than RJ Bishop, you had the most non-eventful, clean slated night of the night. How was it racing out there on the definition of a bull ring here at Daytona?
It was a great time. I was really excited and really thankful that Corbin brought us here, because in real life, when the races happened here 10, 12 odd years ago, it was just such an odd, goofy idea in a way that I was just in love with. It was so much fun, and I'm glad I got the chance to race here now. Everybody, a stupendous job. Everyone was very attentive to everyone around them and drove with their heads. It's very, very... You have to put effort into that in order to drive that cleanly and that attentively at a track this tight and this unforgiving. So I really appreciate that and respect the heck out of everyone for the great race that they all put on.
It definitely was a great race for us to watch here tonight, as Caleb and I absolutely having a blast here watching you guys zoom around. But, coming into a track like this, we're talking a little bit was set up with Apollo, how you basically just got to put all the weight in the front, run a very stiff rear spring, and you're just basically kind of running it like your typical short track. Is with the type of racing that we typically see on some short tracks here, how does that really compare to just having a track with zero banking, and how hard was it to really get around people out on track tonight?
It definitely required cooperation. It's harder to naturally most of your moves will be down low, where else would they be? But you know that if you overshoot your braking point by an inch and a half, then there will be no banking to save you, and you'll probably hit the car up high. So you have to be more. I mean, you got to be measured on any short track, but you got to be even more so here. You have to be very deliberate. You cannot get testy with braking points, and you just have to hope that you sneak your bumper up along someone on the inside. Saw a lot of, like I said, all night long, all I saw was people giving room where they needed, not pushing the issue, not putting anyone in bad spots. Not sure how much that really answered the question, but it it really made for a good time, and I am really glad that everyone. What did we go? 50 laps green to finish the race? That's
I think
amazing.
something in the ballpark. I think probably about 50, 55, 60 laps of green flag action right there. Probably closer to 50, 55 laps, but still, a green flag run with 16 guys still in the server, going that long with a green flag run in NR online, it's really not heard of a lot. But glad to see just how competitive and just how well mannered and patient a lot of these guys have become in this server, and that's really been thanks to a lot of the guidance from a lot of you guys, veterans. You got like like Apollo, like Ike, like Tyler. We know he's gotten involved in a couple of different accidents tonight, but we saw
Mhm.
a very, very patient race from you guys.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And it made for it really made for a great time. Tyler's been guiding sort of a guiding light for us and trying to help out wherever he can, impart knowledge, impart feedback. We all want everyone to do as well as they possibly can because the more each of us learn and the more we improve at this game, the cleaner all of us get and the cleaner all of our races get, and everything just gets exponentially more fun as we go. So, yeah, great time as always in this league. Tonight was a proper blast. I had a ball out there.
Well, you thought you had a ball here tonight. Looking ahead to the next week to the Fuel Motorsports Park, our first of two dirt races on the season. We know that you and Apollo have really gone head to head in terms of the dirt races in the past. What are you expecting out there for race number 7 of the season next week at the Fuel Motorsports Park?
Oh man, it's been 2 years. I'm not really sure exactly what to expect. I'm just looking forward to it. It was that was the second fuel race, second GNS race I ever did was at that track. So I really didn't know anybody or where I was or what I was doing at the time. So to come back here, um, having spent so much time with these people and getting to know them and what it's like to race them, I'm really, really excited. I have no idea how I'll do. I imagine that uh, there are people who were not in that race last time who will be big threats. So I don't know if I'll be up front or not, but dirt tracks in this game, as wonky as they are always a great time. So in any case, I'm just really excited to get going.
Well, it's going to be a very exciting race next week here. Same week, or it's same time, same bat time, same bat channel. We'll get into the promotion a little bit later on here. But Caleb, you got anything for our runner-up finisher here tonight?
I'll definitely have to say that was quite the race that just about everybody put on here tonight from a Daytona backstretch. But you definitely have to say you had a bit of a quiet night, but still definitely good for a short track boring such as this. Managed to keep the car clean. Second place finish. Definitely nothing to scoff at there. So definitely have to give you a lot of props for that, dude. And I wish you nothing but the best of luck here heading into this latter part of the season. Definitely got a lot of interesting tracks coming up, and I have to see how they all shake out, but absolutely wish you nothing but the best of luck, especially considering your spot in the championship. Definitely wish you the best on that regard as well.
Yeah, appreciate it, Caleb. Clean was the goal. It's not something. It's not a luxury I can. Um, it's a luxury I don't want to take for granted. So tonight went very well, and it was really fun. I really appreciate it.
Well, it definitely went well here tonight, and your first podium finish of the season here in race number 6 for your runner-up finisher here tonight, Vincenzo Focusata. Well, Vincenzo, you know the drill. If there's anybody you want to shout out here on the NSRN airwaves or any sponsors you want to thank, the floor is yours.
You betcha. Well, I guess I want to thank our sponsor, Mr. Corbin Wentz for bringing us here and making this race possible. Because again, that was a great choice of racetrack, and that was a great race. So you gave us all a good time out there tonight, Corbin. I really appreciate it. Um, Tyler and Apollo and everyone else who was running the show, Ike too, another admin, he couldn't be here tonight. So hope you're doing well, Ike. Um, Thank you to you guys for bringing us the action and doing such a professional job as always. And oh yeah, I forgot. And anyone who might actually be watching as well. Anyone from back home at EFR, Andrew and Cameron, Dad and Gail, if either of you are watching, I hope you're doing well. We had a loss in the family recently, so it's been a bit of a rough week for us, but it's been really nice to spend so much time with family, and I really appreciate everything that they've done for me. So hope you're doing well, Gail. Hope you're doing well, Dad. Um, and thank you one more time to everyone else on the track for racing me clean, racing me hard, and for such a great show.
Absolutely a great show that you guys put on here tonight. And of course, our thoughts and prayers are with your family and everything that they're going through. But for one more time here tonight, give it up for Vincenzo Focusato. Thanks, your runner-up finisher in tonight's Sunshine 811. Calm before you dig. Daytona Battle at the Beach. Congratulations once again, man. We'll see you next week out at the Field Motorsports Park. It's going to be a blast on the dirt next week.
You betcha. Appreciate it. Thank you, gentlemen.
User was moved out of your
Vincenzo
channel.
Focusato, driver of the Momo number 37 machine, that Mazda for Millennium Autosport. Glad to see him back in here. I was looking through the stats. I just wanted to make sure that was his first podium of the season. It has been a long time since we have really talked to Vincenzo post-race, but glad to see him finally get back up here. And again, the talent and the parity has been really strong so far this season. So really, always a great time talking to him.
Absolutely. Definitely a very nice driver to talk to, both in and out of the airwaves. And nice to see him finally with another good finish here from Daytona, especially like you mentioned, considering the circumstances that he's been in lately. So definitely very heartwarming to see him with a podium finish for sure.
It definitely is. And one more storyline that I feel very bad about not mentioning. I wanted to talk about Emmy Schizato, who's got the name rail of her dog, Laika, that passed away on Thursday. She's got for the rest of the season, she's going to be having this little logo on the name rail for her dog. So I just wanted to shout that out real quick. I 100% tried to mention that during the broadcast, but kind of slipped my mind right at the end. But now, here as we'll bring him in here in just a couple of moments, the dominant driver of the night.
User was moved to your
leading
channel.
a very funny 67 of the 90 laps of the night.
Oh,
Finally,
God.
after 42 races, one finally strikes for Mr. R.J. Bishop. You got your first career win here tonight in the Fuel Grand National Series. First and foremost, congratulations and welcome on.
It took me long enough to get that first up, but we're here.
We certainly are. Hey, they don't ask you how long it took, as long as you got it, and in a beautiful-looking Kroger Cinnamon Toast Crunch car as well. And you absolutely were dominant right from the drop of the green flag. You won the pole. You got that starting position, but after that second caution of the night, a speeding penalty and the end of the longest line. Take us through what transpired after that as you were able to claw your way back to the front of the pack.
Yeah, once I said, I was like, well, I got a fast enough car to get up there anyway, so I just pulled up my big boy pants and kept on digging.
Well, you definitely dig. Hey, make sure that you called before you dig. But you were absolutely digging out there, and in that battle right at the midway point through the race between you and Apollo, Apollo hits the tire barrier right in front of you, and then half a straightaway later, you're able to complete the pass. Just walk us through that moment.
Yeah, once Apollo made that mistake, I was like, okay, hopefully I can just drive away. And I did just that.
Well, you absolutely drove away, and you were absolutely putting a whipping on the rest of the field. But you've been in and out stalwart for the last couple of seasons. You've been here, the last couple of seasons full time, and you've jumped on board with Corbin Wentz and Blake Warren's outfit. You're able to get their first win as an organization. How does it really feel for you guys to finally strike here in race number 6 of the season?
So technically, this is win number 2 for the team, but first for fuel. So Blake a little while ago won at Daytona, same track basically, but obviously different tracks, being on the backstretch. But it feels nice actually getting their first one at fuel. So pretty nice.
Again, you're getting their first fuel win as an organization, your first Grand National win as well. Definitely feels good either way. But looking ahead to next week's race at the Fuel Motorsports Park, it's a dirt track. It's another it's another flat, short track like we saw here. The only exception is that it's dirt. It's not asphalt. What are your personal expectations for next week, and what are you really looking forward to for next week's contest?
Should be fun, to be honest, but hopefully I can go back to back since I do have dirt experience, but we'll see when we get there.
Well, it's going to be a blast for Caleb and I to watch in the booth next week, as it always is. Caleb, you got anything more for our race winner here tonight?
Definitely have to say that was quite the win out there tonight, my dude. Definitely a fantastic performance, especially considering the adversity you had to overcome there after getting an EOLL on that one pit stop. Managed to claw your way back up towards the front. Like you mentioned, just kept on digging, and it definitely worked out for you there. Took advantage of the hundreds mistakes and just absolutely gapped the field there throughout that last run of the race. Definitely nice to see that last run go caution free, and you just absolutely locked in, like I said, during that run. Managed to pull away by about 10 seconds, I'm pretty sure, back to Focus Auto. But a fantastic performance out there, my dude. Absolutely a deserving win there, and definitely nice to see you back in victory lane, man.
Yeah, on that last run, I was just hoping and praying it stayed green. I was like, just please stay green. And luckily it did, and thank God.
Well, it did indeed. Congratulations, dude.
Thanks, guys.
Well, definitely congratulations for you as well. After pounding and pounding, one finally strikes here on your 42nd career race here in Fuel. But RJ, for the first time in your career, you've got as much time as you want to thank anybody here on the NESRN airwaves, or if there's any sponsors you want to shout out. The first time is always a special. Take as long as you want. You got the floor, my man.
I would have thanked my team, Warren Wentz, for adding me to the team. Ford, Kroger for being on the car and dealing with me at my local Kroger store. So I was like, why not throw them on the car for free sponsorship? So luckily for them, had a good setup, and hopefully we can get another dub next week.
As we get a good look at this beautiful Cinnamon Toast Crunch car. Taking a look at all the way around, and yeah, you guys are going to be a force to be reckoned with. You have been all throughout, and going from a mistake last week to finally getting that first win of your career 1 week later. RJ, congratulations on getting the win here tonight. We'll see you next week at the Fuel Motorsports Park.
See you guys next week.
User was moved out of your channel.
That was RJ Bishop, driver of the number 48 Warren Wentz Racing Kroger Cinnamon Toast Crunch Ford Mustang, your winner of the Sunshine 811 Daytona Battle at the Beach here tonight at the Daytona International Speedway. And it's fitting that, like we said, Corbin Wentz's first win as an owner comes in the race that he sponsors here in the Fuel Racing League. And Caleb, oh boy, next week is it's certainly going to be a blast next week. That is for certain.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Dirt tracks are definitely quite in their own ballpark, so it's definitely going to be very, very interesting to see how that race ends up shaking out. I don't know if I've really ever seen an online dirt race. Actually, I might have. I'm not entirely sure. At least it's been a while, but definitely going to be exciting to see how that all ends up shaking out. Definitely with the unique track style, like you were kind of talking about, kind of similar to New Hampshire in a way, just kind of covered in dirt. That's definitely going to make for some very interesting racing. Can't wait to see how it does all end up shaking out, but definitely ought to be a fun one. Like I said, got a lot of interesting tracks here coming up and should definitely make for a very interesting and fun latter part to the National Series season.
It's definitely going to be a fun one. Like we said, first of 2 dirt races. We got the Land of Legends Raceway coming up as well And I don't think we have any other short tracks come. We have a couple of short tracks. We got Rockingham coming up, and I don't think we have any other road courses, if memory serves me right. I know we've got Paris, we've got the 2 dirt tracks, and we got one more other track here on the schedule. Trying to find where we at. Actually, we got Kansas, so we got Fuel next week, Rockingham, Land of Legends, Kansas, and Autodrome de Paris. The 5 remaining tracks here on the slate. But before we get out of Dodge, we'll go through the grid one more time. Here for tonight's Sunshine 811 call before you dig Daytona. Battle at the beach. RJ Bishop, your winner here tonight, leading 67 laps in a final margin of victory of 8.9 seconds over Vincenzo Focusato, who gets his first podium of the season. Apollo Hyde rounds out the podium in third. Blake Warren and Nikki Conti, 4th and 5th respectively. Tate Dorsey, Emmy Schizzato, Grant Warren, Taylor Stolworthy, and Kenny Campos rounded out the top 10. Tyler Stallhood, Corbin Wentz, Connor Edwards, and Crystal Bennett rounded out the top 14 with Trek Togger. Rounded out the top 15, Hez Clark and Rich Roy rounded out the 17-car grid here tonight at a fantastic race here at the Daytona International Speedway. Super stretch layout. Once again, a big thank you to Corbin Wentz for funding tonight's race and bringing us to what was, we initially thought it was going to be a little bit touch and go dodgy of a race here tonight, Caleb, but it was absolutely worth it, and worth it for RJ Bishop, who dominates race number 6 of the season. We're finally down to the final 5, count them, 5 races of season number 8. Next week, we go on to the dirt for the opening time this season, the Fuel Motorsports Park, with coverage getting underway at 8:50 Eastern Time on Wednesday, March 25th, right here on your home for the Fuel Racing League, the North American Sim Racing Network. But on behalf of the Colonel, Caleb Rose, for Tyler Stolhood, Apollo Hyde, and everybody at the Fuel Racing League, and for the North American Sim Racing Network, my name is Trey Wright, saying so long for the Daytona Beach, Florida, here of tonight's coverage of the Fuel Grand National Series, race number 6 of the season, here on the NASRN. Have a good night, folks. We'll see you next week at the Fuel Motorsport Park.